Hello friends and welcome back. I thought I'd do a little 3-month update on me leaving my job, and should you almost have an eat, pray, love experience? Should you just think, fuck it, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna go traveling and not think about the repercussions? And I thought I'd make a video for anyone who's in that situation and they're not sure, because I've actually been through it. I've been through both sides. I've been 9 till 5, I've been doing 9 till 5 plus side hustle, and now just doing YouTube. So I thought I'd make a little video on should you quit your job. I think the first thing is you have to be realistic and think, have I actually got the money to do this? I think in hindsight, maybe I probably didn't, but I felt so bad that I felt it was the only option. The only option for me was to leave a job that I hated, leave a job that was making me unwell, was making me severely depressed. I felt like I had no option. I felt like if I didn't leave this job, I don't even want to think about what I'd do. But I was so down basically. And I think it's definitely tempting to just think, oh yeah, just jack my job in and then you're left with the consequences basically. I'm fortunate enough that I had enough money to do it. The reason I could do it without a husband or without someone supporting me was that I basically banked every corporate bonus that I ever had into a little fund. And that's what I am living on now until my channel becomes monetized or I get another job. It's me literally living off my savings. And this is something I wouldn't really recommend because unfortunately what happens is you burn through money. And what I've found is, I've literally just burnt through so much money. I've worked out that my outgoings are about 1,400 per month. So that's obviously 1,400. That's without food. I can get by on about £60 a week food wise. But since I've quit my job, I've had spent zero on luxuries. So no meals out where I've paid, no meals out, no takeaways. This is really sad, but the only expenditures I've budgeted for is face cream because I know my face is literally my fortune, unfortunately, and that's how the world works. But apart from that, I haven't bought any clothes. I mean, I don't buy clothes anyway. Unfortunately, anytime you see me in a video, I'm wearing a second-hand item of clothing. That's not to be like hashtag thrift store. That's because I literally generally cannot afford to buy clothes. And I think generally clothes anyway that you buy these days aren't even really good quality. You'll buy something few times through the washing machine and it's shrunk. In this day and age, clothes don't seem to be really well made, I find, unless you spend a lot of money on them. So yeah, that's kind of the state of play. If you want to leave your job, be prepared to not have any outgoings, not have any expenditures. Food is like basic. It's porridge for breakfast. Lunch is like eggs or something like that, and then meat and salad and vegetables for dinner. It's pretty basic what I'm eating, but it's what I've chosen to do. It's the sacrifice I've kind of made. But you will burn through cash. You do not realize how much cash you will burn through if you just quit your job. And I quit my job because I knew the writing was on the wall. I'd done the side hustle for 6 years. It was not working. I knew I had to take a drastic step for things to work. And luckily now things on my channel are starting to develop. And that's because I can push out 2 videos a week instead of 2 videos a month. That's what I've had to do. And I think sadly, life is about taking calculated risks. And I think half the reason I do this and half the reason I just take risks is because I spent 13 years as a underwriter. And basically in that job, you're trying to work out the likelihood of something happening. So for me, I've always been quite a high risk person. I've always taken a lot of risks. I've always taken a lot of risks asking people out that I like. I think that's doing a YouTube, being vulnerable. It's because I've always been a high risk person. I kind of feel like if you don't put yourself out there, it's not going to happen. And that's why I felt. like I have to take this high risk strategy of just quitting and walking. People sometimes say in the comments, "Oh, you're so brave. You're so brave for what you're doing, being vulnerable." For me, it wasn't a choice of being brave. It was a case of I needed to give a bit more. I knew I needed to give a bit more to get a bit more in return. Sometimes I think it's a bit of a like Faustian bargain of I've had to almost sell my soul for this to work. And it's something I'm completely aware of, the fact that I have to talk about really vulnerable things to make people click on my video. I know that I don't have that network behind me where I can just make crappy videos like how to be confident. I know I've had to give a bit more to get a bit more, and that's kind of how the algorithm sadly works. So if you do decide to give up your job, I thought I would talk about, I want to prepare you for what happens, because what you don't realize, when I left my job, it generally felt, I don't want to be over dramatic, but it generally felt that I'd left a prison. It felt like I was almost coming out of prison, and it was such a mix of emotions, and I didn't really know how to handle it, because I had been tethered to this job for 13 years, and it had become my identity. It had become my whole world was this job. I didn't really know anything else. I'd had one really serious job before that for 2 years, but this was my whole life. This was my whole identity, doing this job, being an underwriter, and I generally felt like I was leaving prison. And I was like that scene in Shawshank where he's working, I'm trying to remember, he's working in the grocery store and he has to ask if he can go to the toilet. And it's because I'd been getting up and doing a 9 till 5 for so long. I generally didn't know what to do with myself in the day. And I'd always had this goal of I was making videos. But for the first week, I'm going to be honest with you, for that whole week, I just ate. I just ate food because it was as if a release valve had come off. And for like a whole week, I just kept eating, and I like would not stop eating. And it was because I just felt this massive release of pressure. But at the same time, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to handle it in the same way as someone would probably use alcohol or maybe use drugs. I didn't know how to deal with all these feelings of what am I going to do now? And of course, what also comes up is you're probably sitting there thinking, I hate my job, I want to quit my job. But what you don't realize until you do quit your job is that you have that initial kind of happy phase of, I've left my job, I don't have to do that. But once you leave, you're left with every other feeling that you already feel too. You're left with everything else. You're left with everything else that isn't going right in your life. All of those feelings come to the surface. So if you're unhappy about not being in a relationship, that will come to the surface. If you're unhappy about not having children, that will come to the surface. And I've definitely had this 2 or 3 months where in some ways I feel my life has got worse. But what I realize is that it's because when you're in a job that you hate, in some ways your feelings are tapped down. And my feelings were tapped down for 7, 8 hours a day. So I didn't have to feel them because I was so busy at work. I was doing something else. So I wasn't feeling those feelings. But now I feel that because I'm not working a 9 till 5, I feel my feelings are constantly with me. My feelings are constantly at the surface. And that's what I've really struggled with. That's why I will get another job in the meantime, not just for the money, because you don't really realize how much money you go through when, because you're just used to that paycheck hitting your account, and then suddenly when it's not there and you have to use it from your savings. I think of how much money I've spent and I think I literally I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't gone on holiday. I haven't bought any nice clothes. I haven't even bought really any nice food. It's literally just gone on rent and utilities, and you still burn through money. That's half the reason why I've kind of decided to go back to 9 till 5, is that I didn't think about it at the time, but I kind of like going to a place and not thinking about my feelings for maybe 10 hours a day. it is kind of exhausting thinking about your feelings all day. And this is sometimes why I see a lot of other influencers seem to have mental health problems and seem to do like therapy, and even their sponsorships will be surrounded by therapy, is because if you're not working in a full-time job, your feelings will constantly come up. And I definitely miss that about working 9 till 5. I miss going to a place and I miss putting on the persona of not having any feelings. I miss putting my feelings in a box for 10 hours a day or whatever. I kind of miss that, which I find really strange because I don't miss the work in itself, because the work in itself was so boring. I miss not having a place of shutting off my feelings. And people always say you should feel your feelings, but I generally don't think you can feel your feelings all the time. I think at some point you have to put them in a box and just forget about them. Because what can I do? What is the point of me just being sad every day, just being a burden on people? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just be sad every day because I don't have a husband? I mean, at some point you have to put your feelings in a box and just get on with things. And that's generally what I miss about not working 9 till 5. It isn't really so much the people, it's the fact that you literally put your feelings in a box and you don't think about them, and you're so tired and overwhelmed by going to work that you don't have to think about your feelings. And I really felt that in not working, I'm feeling my feelings constantly. And of course, I film and I have to talk about my feelings. So I feel like it's like feelings all the time. And I feel the only time I'm not thinking about my feelings is really when I'm filming and editing. And the rest of the time, my feelings are just there the whole time and they won't go away. I kind of know my limits. I've kind of worked out my limits now. Is that for me, in a good week, I can do 2 videos a week. I can pump out 2 videos a week and I can keep up with that. I think anything more than 2 videos a week, A, they don't seem to get as much traction because people can't keep up with what I'm producing, and B, the content kind of slides. I feel it becomes a bit like you're clutching at straws and you're kind of thinking about, oh, what can I talk about? So for me, either the twice a week or once a week I think it's perfect for me. So I don't want to produce more content, because if I produce more content, I'm just going to be sitting at a desk for so much time. And like, that's what I was doing anyway in my old job. But that is the reality of being an influencer. If you're thinking, oh, I'd love to be an influencer, it is generally, a lot of it's really unglamorous. A lot of it's sitting behind a computer. A lot of it's editing, if you edit your videos. I've never been one of those people that can just sit down and do a video in one take. I mean, props to people that can do that. But I find with me, it doesn't work, and it just doesn't flow. And I feel like the video flows better if I can cut out the pauses and the breaks. And I think it's because I spent so long in corporate listening to people give really boring talks. I think that's why I have to edit my videos. But it generally is a lot of time at your PC. It's not, I don't think it's a glamorous job unless you're maybe traveling a lot and you're not editing your videos. Maybe it's a different lifestyle. If you're literally just traveling and handing it off to someone else, maybe it's more fun. But when you're starting out and you're literally doing everything, it is, yeah. And also the pressure. When you don't have a job, you feel the pressure that every video has to land. You feel this pressure that I can't do a passion project video. Like now, like there's no way I could do a Taylor Swift video anymore, because I know people won't watch that, the subscribers won't watch that. So it becomes this hamster wheel of every video has to hit. I can't have a dud video. Every video has to hit. And that is a lot of pressure, especially if you're not working and you're in that kind of in-between stage of waiting for your AdSense to kick in. That is a lot of pressure as a creator if you feel every video has to hit. And I know everyone feels that pressure. If they have 1,000 subscribers or like 5 million, everyone feels that pressure of this needs to hit, this needs to hit, this needs to get a lot of views. I don't think anyone generally just makes content for content's sake anymore. You can even tell, even with the big players, they don't make what they want. They make what they know will trend. And I think sometimes I see podcasters and I think you don't even really believe that take. But I know why you're doing it. I know why you're wording that a certain way. You're wording that a certain way. It will hit a certain audience that you don't even really want on your channel, but you know it will get you views and it will make you money. So there's all that going on as well. But I've seen a lot of people going de-influencing and going back to work. And I completely get it, because as someone that's done corporate and influencing, I think it's two different skill sets. I think when you're in corporate, a lot of it is you're kept down, you're not allowed an opinion. It's not mentally taxing as much. I think it feels more physically demanding. They're getting up early, they're getting on the train, they're doing the job, they're getting home, then having to do that. It feels more physically demanding. But I think doing influencing, for me, it feels more mentally demanding. It's, come on, get up and film a video. Or if the video didn't land, make another video. If you make a video and people don't like it, it's definitely more of a mental thing. Like in corporate, I wouldn't sit down and someone be like, oh, you look fat and ugly today. Whereas you kind of think doing this, you have to kind of accept that and accept that people will be mean to you. But it's the trade-off. It's the trade-off for making more money. It's the trade-off for getting your name out there. It's the trade-off for making money. And it's sadly what women have to do. And I still think men don't get the hate on the same scale as women. Women get so much more hate than men. So it's two different skills. It's more of a mental game. It's more of a mental game of motivating yourself. And if you're not really a person that can motivate yourself, you're really going to struggle at this job, because it's a job where you have to be your own boss. You have to motivate yourself. You have to see what's trending. You have to... Sometimes what I find difficult is that your foot has to always be on the pulse of what's happening in the world, what's trending. But then you also have to feed your brain creatively. You have to read literature. You have to read novels. You have to feed that side of you as well. So it's not just me sitting on camera and talking. It's the fact that I constantly have to stimulate my brain and think, right, what's going on in the world? How is that going to impact my content? Because you can't just sit in an echo chamber like some people and give advice when they're not talking about any of the issues that we go through. That's why I kind of feel like a lot of advice on the internet is just so redundant, because it doesn't talk about anything about the social and economic impact that most people face. It's always just do this, just send this text, to get a boyfriend, but none of anything else is taken into consideration. It's definitely difficult. You always have to like keep your foot on the pulse, see what's happening around the world. But at the same time, you don't want to be so tapped in that you start thinking that all men are this way, that all women are that way. And it definitely is a fine balance. I think there's pluses and minuses to both. Where I am in my life, because I don't have that external comfort at the moment. I don't have that external comfort of a boyfriend and a child. I think that's why I've decided to go back to work. I think if I had maybe a boyfriend or a husband or a baby, I think there would be an outside focus away from the videos. But because I don't have a place where I can tap off my feelings, I think that's what I'm going back to work. I didn't think I would, but I miss getting up, cutting off my feelings and doing something, and not having to feel my feelings constantly. And I think that is sadly the downside of if you do this full time. You will feel your feelings constantly all day. Anything not going right in your life, you will feel that all day. You'll feel, why don't I have a husband? Why don't I have a baby? Why don't I have friends? What I would say is just quitting your job. It won't solve everything in your life. I think because having a job takes up so much of our life, we kind of feel that if we just quit the job that we hate, our life would miraculously get better. And maybe that's the trap that I fell into. I fell into the trap of, if I just wasn't working, my life would be so much better. But I think that'll only be the case if you're already happy and content within your life, and possibly if you have something else to go on and do. If you're like me, where you're still in bloody building phase of something, it's going to be hard because your feelings are going to be constantly there and there's nothing to push them down. So if you do want to do it, I mean, just go for it. You only have one life, just go for it. But just realize that quitting your job is not a magic wand. It's not going to solve all your problems. And please only do it if you are financially able to do it. If you're going to do like me, you're going to do the eat, pray, love of just being like, fuck it. Just think, have I got enough money to do this? Is this going to make me homeless? Is this going to put a great deal of pressure on myself? And that's sadly what I had to think. I mean, maybe in hindsight, I probably should have just switched to another job. But I knew that I wanted to get out of the industry that I was in. I knew I didn't want to do it anymore. And sometimes I feel like if you just leave, then it just focuses your mind and then you can focus on finding a new job and doing what you want. I'm waiting to hear back on something. I'm waiting to hear back on a job. It's just like a really long lead time. I just wish like I knew either way so that I could plan. I am still going to be making videos. I'm conscious I just don't want to burn through all my savings because realistically now I'm just going through my house deposit fund. But I'm kind of having to think strategically that, okay, I'm going through this house fund, but I reckon I can make more money. I can make more money through YouTube. So I'm not too bothered because I feel like I can make more money through YouTube than I ever made at my corporate job. And when I say corporate bonuses, we're not talking like Gary Stevenson £1 million bonus. We're talking about, couple of thousand here and there. We're not talking about vast amounts of money. I mean, what can I say? If it's something you want to do and you're motivated, I would just go for it and try. I mean, I'm a high risk person and I think I'd rather just try and fail than not try at all. I hope this has helped slightly. It's slightly different from what I usually do, but I feel like it could be quite helpful if you're in my position and you don't know whether to just take that leap or not. I just thought I'd tell you the risks and what it's like, and hopefully this helps. Take care, everyone. Love you. Bye.